Part of being a thoroughly amateur production is if I feel like it, I can demonstrate just how thoroughly amateur I am, or the production is. In a certain sense, and I'm in the wrong spot, my knee's bonking the leg of the table. In a certain sense, I am not an amateur at speaking to a crowd. Now, I want to make this point real quick before I forget it. As of the time I record this, which is 02/27 on the 16th of August 2005, as of this point, this channel, Whiskey for Beginners, has 56 subscribers. I started off, of course, with none. And for a long time it hovered at 52. And then lately it's been building slowly. One, like the Johnny Cash song, I did it one piece at a time, except he spoke Arkansas Southern and not Texas Southern, and he had a deeper voice. Hello, I'm Johnny Cash. I have to work to get that low, and it's not as low as his normal voice. But I did it one piece at a time. That's how I got to 56 subscribers. And it's gone down a time or two. It's gone back up. Right now I'm at 56. Next week I may be at 22. Who knows? But tonight I'm a sippin' and I'm a talkin'. Not Roy Clark and Buck Owens. Just me. And tonight, in fact, I want to finish the dregs of it. Although dregs really, I believe, is more a wine term. Earlier tonight, just a few minutes ago in fact, I finished the very first bottle of Clyde Mays bourbon I ever bought. It was what I call a pint, 375 milliliter. And that is roughly equivalent to a pint. And 750 milliliter is roughly equivalent to a fifth. And I learned my whiskey terminology back in the 70s when I was a teenager. My dad had some liquor on hand and drank beer fairly occasionally. Well, that didn't come out right. It's not that he drank it fairly often, but it wasn't just now and then either. He drank beer sometimes. And sometimes, he drank whiskey and perhaps other liquor. I had a taste of ouzo one time when I was in my teens. But I learned my terminology back then. I still think in pint and fifth. Tonight, though, in Sippin' and Talkin', I am not going to talk about that Clyde Mays. Let me get the glass out the way. I've already done, I believe, 2 videos, Sippin' and Talkin', with a Knob Creek single barrel, a store pick, that I get from Kelly Liquors. I'm on my 5th bottle of that. And with Sippin' and Talkin', it is going to repeat bottles. That's the nature of the deal. Whatever I'm a-drinking at that point is what appears on the video. Tonight, we have Knob Creek 9-year. This is the basic, let's call it introductory level Knob Creek bourbon. It's a 9-year that I have always used to demonstrate how to open Knob Creek, and it took me a little bit to figure that out. And let me pour this so I can get the glass out the way. Well, that's a little more than I intended. The phone's tilt isn't really showing me what I want. When I opened this bottle, I demonstrated the opening. And if you have not seen that video nor a short I did on how to open Knob Creek, you just take the seal or the tab, twist it once so it's upside down from where it was, and after that you can peel it real easy. It works for me every time. But this is a basic bourbon. It is the bottom of the Knob Creek line, but it's 100 proof. And this bottle cost me, I don't know how well you'll be able to see it, $29.99. I don't know how well you heard it. I have learned that this camera on my phone picks up sound as well as picture better than on my current laptop. It's my new laptop. The old one, it didn't quite die, but it was making noises like it might blow up at any time. My guess is that a fan was going out. Rather than mess around with repairing it, I've been down that road. I just got another one, a new one to me. It's a used one, and it doesn't have all the power and storage space of the old one, but it works pretty good. But its webcam, if I had it setting right where my phone is, I would look mighty dark. And people have commented on that, and rightly so. You know, you don't want a video where you can't see anything. But anyways, I don't remember where I was. I do know that this smells good. Now, there are people who always get a nutty note, whether on the nose or on the palate, from anything that comes from Jim Beam. And that has got to be the yeast, because barrels will not consistently give the same idiosyncratic note. The same basic notes, yes, you're going to get from all the barrels pretty much. There might be an outlier that doesn't give you the basics. The mash bill is always going to deliver the same characteristics. But yeast can affect how things taste. Four Roses has, it's either 2 recipes and 5 yeast strains, or 5 recipes and 2 yeast strains, and I can't keep it straight. And they have a complex designation of 4 letters for each combination of recipe and yeast. But each yeast strain that Four Roses use will give you different characteristics. I have a sneaking suspicion that the nuttiness I get from George Dickel, whereas others get what they call a Flintstones vitamins note, and they don't like it. I liked Flintstones vitamins when I was a kid, so I wished I could get that note. I bet you that comes from the yeast. Balcones Distilling has their fermenters on the roof of their building, the old fireproof storage building in Waco, Texas. And the reason they leave them open, as I understand it, and I may be incorrect to some degree here, but they use their own yeast, but they also allow the wild yeast, and there's yeast everywhere. Every fruit you eat, every nut you eat, everything you touch, there's yeast on it. Wild yeast. And they let the wild yeast come in, and that helps impart the specific Balcones touch. But people say they get a nuttiness from everything that comes from Jim Beam, and that's where I was going in the first place. I rarely get any sort of nutty note from anything from Jim Beam. My palate is pretty idiosyncratic in some ways. However, on this particular bottle of Knob Creek 9-year, I do sort of get it. The first glass from it, there was definitely a nuttiness. Now it's just kind of sort of there. And to get anything definite, I have to stick my nose way in, and then the alcohol starts a scorching. if the only bourbon on earth was Knob Creek 9-year, yes, I would miss some of the others that I like, but it wouldn't hurt me to drink this for the rest of my life. This is a 100 proof bourbon. This is 9 years old, which is a respectable age for bourbon. You'll routinely see 10, 12, or higher ages for Scottish and Irish whiskey, but they're in a cooler, moister climate. Now, the South, of which Kentucky is a part, is humid, certainly. Although the further west you get in Texas, the drier it gets. You get out into the Trans-Pecos, and you got downright desert. And my hometown, adopted, but my hometown, Cisco, is drier than further east in Dallas, which in turn is drier than further east along the Sabine River, which is right where you're right across the river from Louisiana. The South is a humid place, but the climate overall is warmer, hotter even, and the temperature swings are wilder. It gets cold in the South. It'll snow, not necessarily even up in the hills in Kentucky, but in the summer it'll go up to 100 or more, and of course the humidity is there. Whereas in Scotland, if you get 100 degrees Fahrenheit, it is going to be an odd day indeed. It gets cold there. Even in the lowlands of Scotland, it's further north than the south of the United States. I know what I'm trying to say, I just can't say it. Scotland is roughly as far north as the Alaska Panhandle, which, although it's not as cold as up on the North Slope, certainly is not warm in winter. And by the way, it's interesting, the capital of Alaska, Juneau, is down in the Panhandle. Anchorage and Fairbanks are up in the main part of the state, but they're not the capital. And sometimes you get these capitals that are way off-centered. Cheyenne, Wyoming, the capital of the state, is down in the southeast corner, and you got that whole big spread of state off away from it. I'm trying to remember, I believe Pierre, South Dakota, which is the only one-syllable state capital, I believe it's in the southern part of the state. But anyway, the southern climate, which is where bourbon originated, is more extreme, and so whiskey ages faster. And so you would not get this color from a Scottish whiskey at 20 years. Now granted, they're also mostly using used barrels, mostly used bourbon barrels, which already have a lot of the color leached out of them by what was in there before. Granted that. But the climate is so much milder and has such smaller swings between high and low that it just takes so much longer to age whiskey there. Contrariwise, you go down in further south, say in Waco, where Balcones Distilling is. Their baby blue corn whiskey, for the first time I bought a bottle where they could call it straight corn whiskey. And that means it is a minimum of 2 years. Before that, it had been a 1-year whiskey. And baby blue, it's not as dark as this, but it is as dark as some bourbons I've seen. As dark as some bourbons from up in Kentucky. And their Balcones pot, or Texas pot still bourbon, is about this dark, if not darker. And it's only 2-3 years old. It is a straight bourbon. Oh, that's good. Let me check the time. I'm at 16 minutes. And I don't know which order I'm going to upload videos in. I know I've mentioned it in videos I've recorded previously, but who knows, this may go up online before them. The reason I put my hand here is the time shows right down, well, because of where the lens is, I gotta, there, right there is where the time shows up, but as you can see, it's showing up against the white refrigerator, so I have to put something between there. Where was I? That's the thing about these sipping and talking videos. I'm just talking. I got no script, not much if any plan, and so I'm liable to be in mid-sentence, have a digression, and forget where I was. That is why I took to I originally took to preaching with a manuscript because I was in a church that had a lot of Hispanic people in it, and we had a relationship with a church in Portal, Arizona, Portal in Spanish. And they would come and attend our services, but most of their people spoke limited English, if any. And we had a guy who translated. And to make it easier on him, I took to writing out a manuscript. He then could read along with me and translate easier on the fly than having to hear what I said and then translate it. And I found that it was a big help to me. When I just used an outline, and some of my outlines were just 3 lines, the 3 main points, I would chase every rabbit in the county and go outside the county and find more. With a manuscript, I can stick to the points I want to make and not waste time going off hither and thither. And I wasn't real thrilled with the idea at first. I thought, where is the Holy Spirit in this kind of preaching? And then it occurred to me, the Holy Spirit who inspired the Bible can also lead me in my writing just as surely as he can lead me in my speaking. And so I preach from a manuscript exclusively now. If I got a request to preach on Saturday night, no, I wouldn't have a manuscript. I'd have to use an outline, and I'd make shift to do it. But when I have time, I like to have 2 weeks to prepare if possible. That way I can prepare and revise and tighten up and print the manuscript. But all that came from the fact that none of my videos, whether sipping and talking or whiskey reviews or my Whiskey Basics series, which is so amateur you'll hate it, but go watch it if you're new to whiskey. There's a ton of information there. It's everything I wanted to know when I was new to whiskey and could not find in one place. I recorded those videos, 30 some odd, and put it in one place. Disregard the amateur nature and focus on the content. But from the beginning, my videos have had no script whatsoever. The Whiskey Basics series all start with a question. What is whiskey? That's one of the videos. What is barrel proof? That's one of the videos. What is bourbon? That's one of the videos. What is hot whiskey? I did a video on that. And you can just go through and get a basic education on whiskey in one place if you're willing to discount the bad lighting and the bad setup, which is even worse than what you're seeing now. And I'm at 20, so I need to start trying to wrap it up. How do you know the preacher only has 30 more minutes to go? When he says, "And finally, brethren," there is some nuttiness there, but I don't get it every time from Jim Beam. It's a surprise that I'm getting it on more than one glass in this bottle. When I want nuttiness, I go to George Dickel. I've only had one bottle of their classic recipe. I think it's a blue label. No, it's a black label. It used to be their number 8. I don't know if they're still putting the number on it. And I noticed pecans on that. Then I tried their superior recipe, what used to be the number 12, but the last time I got it didn't have the number on it anymore. And I got pecans on that, and it's better than the black label. And then I tried their bottled in bond, which I've had 2 bottles. The one I have now is a 12-year. The first one I had was a 13-year. I don't know whether they're changing it or it's just going to vary from bottling to bottling. But on the bottled in bond, I get walnuts. I've never got Flintstone vitamins from Dickel, but I get nuttiness. And different whiskeys have different characters. This is a dark, earthy whiskey. Four Roses, and I love their small batch, is a bright, fruity whiskey. So is Old Granddad. And I recommend their 114, although if you are new to whiskey, the 114 is probably going to be too much proof for you. I've never had Old Granddad 80 proof, but the Old Granddad bottled, or they call it bonded. Bottled in bond and bonded are the same thing, just different terms for the same thing. It's 100 proof, but it doesn't drink hot at all. And if you're going to try Old Granddad, that's where I'd recommend you start, unless you already have experience with proof. And this Knob Creek, I love it, but if you're just starting, 100 proof might be a bit much for you. And who knows, maybe you've never had whiskey in your life, you stumbled across this video. The best place to start is at 80 proof, which is the minimum legal proof for whiskey in the United States. You can go with Old Granddad, the regular. Wild Turkey has an 81 proof, which I've not tried. There are various other 80 proof whiskeys, and you can go into a liquor store and ask somebody, tell them, I'm just starting with whiskey. I want to be sure before I get into the higher proof that I even like it. What 80 proof whiskeys do you recommend? After you've had some experience with 80 proof, you can go up to 90 proof. After you've had some experience with 90, you can go on to 100. And after you've had some experience with 100 proof, you're probably ready to just try any old proof as high as it goes. And sometimes you'll find a lower proof will be hotter than a higher one. I'm at 25 minutes, which is longer than I like to be. So I'm going to end this without any grace whatsoever. Tupshida.